A growing list of Canadian provinces have moved to lift their COVID-19 restrictions in response to the Freedom Convoy. Alberta, perhaps Canada's most conservative province, immediately dropping its vaccine passports for places like restaurants, also getting rid of masks by the end of this month.
Alberta's Premier Jason Kenney is saying that these restrictions have led to terrible division. For more on this, we want to welcome in our Toronto correspondent Michael Charbon. Michael, what's the pulse where you are at?
Well, the pulse is that kids from kindergarten to grade 12 will not have to wear masks after the 14th. If you attend a live game, you can actually have food and drink in your place. If you're attending a place of worship, there is no restrictions, but you still have to wear your masks. And basically, Jason Kenney said, kids have to be kids. You have to start opening up. And this is quite a contrary position to what Prime Minister Trudeau has been putting in. And of course, he's sitting there in Ottawa having all kinds of political problems, but Alberta is leading the way. British Columbia, not so much. Nova Scotia, maybe. Ontario, playing possum. So everybody's kind of jostling, but you can see, particularly in Alberta with some of the blockades, they have to do something, and their premier has taken action. So it's there is that positive point to that.
Michael, is this a response directly to the Freedom Convoy or indirectly in any way? We're starting to hear about some of these restrictions, coming down now. We're also, I saw this on National Report earlier today. They interviewed a trucker who was kind of maybe an outlier here, saying, this convoy doesn't really represent all truckers in Canada.
Well, that is true. I mean, it started initially as a trucker movement because they were complaining about the restrictions to enter into Canada and the United States for cross-border shipment and transport. But it has really transcended now to more of a popular movement. It's a freedom movement, as they call it, where people are saying enough already. We've seen this. I mean, they're doing wastewater tests, kind of an ugly topic, but because the COVID and the Omicron bacteria is not as present in wastewater, they're realizing that it is slowly going down. I mean, you're looking at 85% of Canada who's already triple vaxxed and 79% who are double vaxxed. So Canadians are very uniform. They're very go out and get your shot. But it's like enough already. That's what people are saying. And that is what's really engaged this protest. And Ottawa is symbolic of that. And interestingly enough, when you talk about the political form of it, 2 Quebec Liberal MPs have gone up against the Prime Minister and said, listen, that's it, you have to lift mandates. And now you're seeing signs in Ottawa that said, let's go Brando, instead of let's go Bandit, reminiscent of the NASCAR and Biden scenario. So many things are going back and forth, but it has become more of a civil kind of a protest to say, we are with the truckers, we want to stop the mandates, we want to move forward, let's realize that we have to come to some kind of a conclusion. And Trudeau doesn't seem to want to do anything. And again, with these premiers in these other provinces saying that they want to reduce that, they are, I believe, moving to the reaction of some of their people.
And just to check the spelling on that, that's Let's Go Brando, B-R-A-N-D-E-A-U, I believe. That's how you
got
spell
it.
North of the border. Michael Charbon, thanks so much.
I'm a NASCAR fan. I love Let's Go Brando. So they go, Let's Go Brando. And there's no explanation underneath. It's just very quiet.
We get it. It doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Michael Charbon, great to see you.
Thanks, Michael.
John. Thank you. Nice to see you guys.
All right, let's welcome in Patrice Lee Onwuka. She's the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum. Patrice, great to see you. So Alberta, Canada now lifting COVID-19 restrictions. Obviously, this has got to be a victory in some way. But we're also seeing here, Patrice, I think the inability of some politicians, Justin Trudeau chief among them, the inability to admit that they're wrong. They could just alleviate so much of this. If they want to end the blockade of Ottawa, all he has to do is come out and say, you know what, guys, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's work this out, and it would be over.
Well, that's true, but you're talking about elites, and whether you're talking about Justin Trudeau or here in the United States, people in power, particularly those who have held power for quite a long time, they belong to a very certain class of people who believe that they're always right. They believe that they have science on their side, they have truth on their side, they have knowledge on their side. They don't care about the common people. and the issues, the day-to-day life issues that are unifying so many Canadian truckers, Canadians, and here in the United States. I think what we're seeing is that this populist revolt is very much not just about vaccine mandates, not just about mask mandates, not just about overreach of government. It's about people who are tired of being overlooked, forgotten, and then when they raise their voice, they're called xenophobic, they're called racist, they're called sexist, they're called misogynistic, they're called everything under the book, when they simply want to have access to the same rights and the same freedoms that the elites do.
And it's amazing, Patrice, you mentioned it. It's really sparked a global movement. And especially here in the States, we've learned that, on Super Bowl Sunday, the Department of Homeland Security is saying truckers could start in LA and make their way all ahead to Washington ahead of the State of the Union. And what I find fascinating is there's been no threats of violence. Everything's been peaceful. Yet already you have the Department of Homeland Security saying we don't want angry people showing up in Washington. Well, they already prematurely make the jump. And it seems like a real reaction because they know that these are real people and they're not backing down.
Well, exactly. I mean, you could copy and paste that same language when talking about parents at their school board meetings. I think, again, you've got people in Washington right now who are trying their very best to set the narrative that anyone who questions, who opposes what heavy-handed government is somehow, wrong and needs to be shut up, needs to be considered as some sort of enemy of the state. And that's simply not the case. We do live in a democracy. We live in what should be a place where you're not only free to express your grievance with the government, but you're able to peacefully coexist and to simply draw the conclusion that you're somehow a terrorist or you're trying to disrupt the country, disrupt the economy. That's wrong. And I think I'm very pleased and proud of all of those truckers, Americans, Canadians, coming together to revolt against, to push back against this heavy-handed government approach.
Yeah, Patrice, your point is so well taken about, it does seem like they want there to be this chilling effect. They want to cast everyone who wants to show up, which is our First Amendment right, to protest our government. If you show up at all, you are an insurrectionist. And how dare you even come to Washington? It's not your place. It's our place where we all meet and tell you what to do. No, they don't want to make Washington available to everybody. They want to shut us or shut everyone out of it. Patrice Lee Onwuka, great to see you. As always, we'll see you in the next hour as well.